Hi folks, this is a predictions video for the higher level maths paper 2 for 2024. So again, similar to another video I made for paper 1, I'm just going to try and go through some of the topics that repeat a good bit every year and give you some bit of an idea as to what to focus on for revision maybe at the start, and just kind of highlight some topics in particular that you should know. So what's included? So I'm going to give an overview of the topics which have come up in the exam papers for the last 4 years. I'm going to list the recurrent topics to focus on revision, and then I've got some worked solutions here to exam questions, mainly for last year for 2023 paper, and then I've got links and some QR codes to videos which go through the full questions, so in more detail than I will here because I won't have much time here. So these are the topics that I'm going to go through, and you should be able to see straight away that these are fairly important topics. If you've looked through exam papers before, you'll know that all this stuff appears on paper 2, but I'm going to go through each of these 6 because I find these to be the most important. So trigs, proofs, and applying trig proofs, and then so the first 2 are trigonometry, and then circle and the circle is always going to be a question on it. So knowing how to find the centre and the radius just came up there the last few years in part A's in particular. Perpendicular distance between a point and a line. Now that one, or else, that's a formula. It's got absolute value sine ax1 plus b and so on. That one, or else the formula for the angle between 2 lines, that's another one. One of those generally should come up. Number 5 there is sine rule and cosine rule, so those are new parts for leaving cert, but Pythagoras and SOHCAHTOA using sin, cos and tan, that still comes up a good bit, and you have to use that within questions a good bit as well, even for leaving cert, but I didn't put them in here because it's junior cert stuff, so hopefully we should know that. And then the last one in particular is probably the most important. It's statistics, and I just put that in as a kind of a broad topic here because statistics is a nice little section. It's a big enough chapter, but everything in it, students generally find it to be one of the nicer topics, and it's almost, well, it's pretty much guaranteed to be on paper 2. So I'd advise you to absolutely nail down that, so to go through everything in it, and just don't be caught out on those questions, because you should be getting marks on the statistics question. Now some people don't like statistics, but I think in general it's one of the more favourable ones. So the first one anyway is trig proofs. So this question came up last year then in 2023. So prove that sine of a plus b is equal to sine a cos b plus cos a sine b. So this is a proof that's in your book and that you just have to learn off. So trig proofs have come up the last few years. You look at this, just an overview of the last few years. So if you look down the side, it's the questions, and then across the top it's the years. So you see there for question 2 in 2023 in that box, trig proofs comes up, and then for the part B of that question, applying trig proof comes up. So we'll go through that thereafter. And then the same happened in 2022 then. So trig proof came up in part A, and then applying trig proof came up for part B. And then I think in question 4 in 2021 as well, trig proof came up. So you see that it's coming up, it's come up the last 3 years anyway. So it's something that you can't really go into the exam without knowing. So this is the one that came up last year, and it's just, you just have to learn it off. This is how to do this one. So you replace a with 90 minus a, and then you've cos of 90 minus a minus b, and then you can sub in from there, and eventually you get out in the end what they're asking you for. So sine of a plus b, and so you're using a form or proof to prove it. But there's only a few of them to know, and you just need to be able to recite them. So there's a QR code there if you want to look through, and there'll be a link there in the description for that question if you want to look through how to do it in more detail. Applying trig proofs then. So this is the next part of that question. So you just have to use that basically, that sine a plus b, and you just have to you have to show that sine 75. You have to work out sine 75. So you need to be able to see that sine 75 is the same as 45 plus 30, because 45 plus 30 is 75. And then you can use that. So your A is the 45 and your B is the 30. And then you've got things, so you've got sine 45, cos 30. So there are things that you can you can just read off in the log tables. So again, there's a link there if you want to look through in more detail. Solving trig equations then. So this again came up last year. This is the part C of the trigonometry question. So sine t equals sine 2t. So you just need to go to the log tables. Sine 2t is the same as 2 sine t cos t. And then you can form an equation, so you can factorize out a sine t, and then one of them has to be equal to 0, and then you're either t equals 0, or then the other one you get an equation where cos t is equal to a half. So you have to go to your CAST then, so your diagram, and see which sections cos is positive in. So it'll be positive in the first and the fourth quadrant. So that wasn't too bad a question, and again there's a link there if you want to look through it. Okay, so circle center and radius. So this is a simple enough part, and I just put it in because it's come up there quite a bit as well. So you see there for question 4a, it's center and radius, and then for 2023, and then in question 3 it comes up again. So there's always going to be a question on the circle, and see there 2020 as well, it comes up. So it's a fairly straightforward, but generally there might be some bit of a kick to it. So here there's a h involved, but they tell you that you can give it in terms of h. So all you need to do is just remember you're changing the signs, and then the radius, it'll be the square root of, because 12 has to be r squared. So that's quite simple way it comes up there, but it can be slightly differently. So look back through the other ones in other years as well. The perpendicular distance between a point and a line. So that's that formula there, and that's in the log tables for you. So it's just understanding how to implement it. So the ABC is always going to be the coefficients of the line, and then your x1, y1 is the point. So it calculates the perpendicular distance from a point to a line. So in this case it says that it is 5 units, so that's telling us that the answer is 5 units. So we're letting that formula be equal to 5, and then our A is going to be 1, there's nothing in front of the x, our B is -4, our C is 7, and then our point is h -3, so we get a h within the formula when we sub it in. So it's straightforward enough from there. It's just moving things to the other side, and then we've absolute value signs. You need to solve them so you get 2 possible answers, but this kind of came up within the circle question, so that formula can come up in a couple of different ways. So I said at the start as well, the other one that's very common is the one where it's a slope. It's the angle between 2 lines, so it's you have to find the slopes and sub them in. So next one is sine rule. So this is the way sine rule came up last year in 2023. Now I think it came up in one of the last questions down here. Yeah, it came up there in question 7 in part B of it. So you'll see then it comes up. So both sine rule and cosine rule are generally in there somewhere. So it came up in question 4 in 2022, so for part B, the last part of it, and then in 2021, it comes up as part A there in question 9, and I'm not sure about 2020. So it comes up in question 3 there in part A of it as well in 2020. So all 4 years their sine rule has come up. So you'll see there's a lot of writing here, and that was one of the criticisms of the paper, more so paper 1 last year, but there's a lot of writing involved here. All you need to see is the diagram here, and you have to work out that that's 5 first, that angle there, the angle POR, because they have all of that up to 180 in the triangle, and then you can use sine rule then. So sine rule is all about the side opposite the angle, so you can put 20 over sine of 5, and you can put y over sine of 87. I just called that side y here, just call it something, and then you can work out what that side is, and then because the top triangle is a right angle triangle, you can just use SOHCAHTOA from there. You might not need to actually, you'll need to do that in the next part. For this part it's only sine rule, but SOHCAHTOA is important to remember as well. Right, so cosine rule then, so similarly with sine rule, cosine rule always is always there as well. So question 9b there in 2023, it comes up, and then it comes up as question 9b as well in 2022, and question 7c in 2021, and then so I don't see it there for 2020, but it might have been in there as well. I might have missed it. So this is the question for last year, and again it's to do with tiles, so there's a little bit of writing about it there, but again it's that diagram there where I have the numbers written in, the 8, the 6 and the 4, so it's that triangle that you're using it for. So the angle in there is alpha. It might be hard to see there, but 4 is going to be the A then that you put in, and the 6 and the 8 are the B and the C, and you're just putting all those in, and you're letting alpha be the angle. So the angle is the thing we're looking for, and the way I've done it here is I moved everything across the equal sign. You can change around the formula at the start if you want to do it that way, but you get 7 over 8 in the end, and then you move the cos across and it becomes cos inverse, and that's what they're asking you to find out. So that's the question for last year, and again there's a link to it there. So the last thing then is statistics. Now I've put this in as a broad topic, so I'm going to show you a few questions here that came up, 2 different ones in different papers. So anything to do with normal distribution and z-scores and all that, that they're very popular. So you see there for question 8 in 2023 last year, so normal distribution, z-score, confidence interval, hypothesis test, using confidence interval to work out population, and I think that was it then for that. Now, mean, standard deviation, correlation coefficient, that came up in question 5. That is part of statistics as well. So it's not the inferential statistics part. Look at question 10 then in 2022. So again, similar things come up. So normal distribution, z-score, using z-score to work out original value, and then it goes into probability. Then question 8 in 2021, so normal distribution, z-score, sampling distribution of the mean, p-value, so that's all within that topic, within that chapter, depending on which textbook you're using. And then for 2020, so it's pretty much a guaranteed question. So it's question 8 there, so normal distribution, z-score, confidence interval, working out proportion, so you have to work out the p-hat part, I think, for that question. Hypothesis test of the mean, so similar again. So there's only 4 or 5 things there within the inferential statistics thing that can really come up. So there's only really 4 or 5 different formulae to remember. So this is definitely worth learning off. And you'll see there it's coming up and it's taken up pretty much nearly a full long question for each of the years as well. So at question 7, 8, 9 or 10. So I'd count this as being very important. So this was from last year. So it's just using, it's just working out the z-score. So it tells us what the standard deviation is, tells us what the mean is, and it's asking us to find the probability that the player has a score of less than 3.5. So 3.5 is the x, 3.87 that's given to you, it's the mean, and the 0.36 that's given to you as well. That tells us that our z-score is minus 1.027, and then it's working on the probability that a player has a score of less than that. So remember, to work out the z-score for a minus number, we have to do the positive number and then do 1 minus it. So that's all that is there. So that's it, and that was the part A, I think. Then for part B, it's confidence interval. So it's just using this formula here. So the p-hat, that's the proportion. So in this case, the proportion is the 3.74, and then n, that's the number of people in the survey, that's 64, and the standard deviation is 0.36. So they give us all the information really, it's just working out the confidence interval. And then the next part is using that confidence interval just to do the hypothesis test. So it's just stating the null hypothesis, the alternative hypothesis. Then this question, this is from 2022 actually, so I just threw this in as well. So using the proportion, create a 95% confidence interval, so it's the same formula as the one we've just seen there. And I think I left out the first part of that question. The first part was calculating the margin of error. So the margin of error is very easy to calculate. So just look back if you forgot it, but you've already got that worked out really, and then it's just using that within this part here. So yeah, so it's using the population proportion that is more accurate, so it's using this one with the p-hat. So again, there's a link there to that, and then this is part B for that same question, and it's a hypothesis test for the mean. So it's basically asking, does the mean change by enough? So in the end there we reject the null hypothesis, but so that's the formula over there for that one. So our z-score is the x bar minus mu over the standard deviation over root n. So it's above the level of the 5% level of significance there. So again, there's a link to that. So that's it then. That's everything I wanted to go through here. So again, it's not it's not going through everything that's going to be on the paper or whatever, but it gives a good overview of what has come up there in the last few years. So you can look down through this spreadsheet here if you want. If you want to pause it there at any stage, and you just get a look at the other topics as well. So that's it then. That's all for that video.